What is going on, guys? How y'all doing on this Thursday evening? This is the Club of Demand 1993. We are here live to review this past weekend's Money in the Bank, WWE's Money in the Bank 2022 pay-per-view. It took place again this past Saturday, July 2nd, 2022 at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, which of course was the home of the first ever AEW pay-per-view event, AEW's Double or Nothing. But of course, we're not here to talk about AEW, we're here to talk about WWE, as we're going to review this pay-per-view, and we're of course on the road now to SummerSlam 2022. And here's the thing. After watching Money in the Bank on Saturday, I thought it was fine. I thought it was solid. But now that I've seen this past week's episode of Raw that followed it, it kind of lowered it a little, my grade a little bit. I don't know. I just feel like not much came out of this show. I mean, the biggest thing, of course, was definitely Liv Morgan's moment. That was probably the highlight of the show for a moment-wise. The match of the night was definitely the Usos and the Street Profits. That could have been a little bit better, but I will, of course, address why I felt that, when we get to that match. Everything else was just, like, the women's ladder match, other than Liv Morgan winning, was a little sloppy. That could have definitely been better. There really wasn't anybody else besides Becky and maybe Lacey who I thought had a chance to win. I did not think they were going to give it to Liv. I was very surprised what they did with Liv. But I don't think the moment's going to last too long. I think it was more so of a transitional moment for someone else to turn heel. Which we will talk about that a little bit later on, of course. So we'll talk about that. The women's, the title match for the women's were very unpredictable. The U.S. title match was actually pretty good. Like, that was probably my second favorite match of the night, the U.S. title match. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match was okay. It was decent. I'm concerned about the outcome, though. I mean, it could work, but I'm afraid of what they're going to really do with it. What to talk about when we get to it. So, yeah, I'll say Money in the Bank was decent. But I thought more solid, but after seeing this past episode of Raw and the fallout from it, and the build of SummerSlam, which I'm not super duper excited for SummerSlam. There's two matches that I'm looking forward to for SummerSlam right now. It looks like they're going to do Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins, and maybe a rematch because of the finish to the match on this show between the Usos and the Street Profits. There's a good chance of a rematch there. But if there is a rematch, there has to be a stipulation. There has to be. So yeah, let's first check the live chat. We've got Mark. What's going on, Mark? Thanks for joining me. I'm not doing too bad. Congrats to the new SmackDown Women's Champion. I definitely agree. The problem I have is I don't see her having that title for long. Unfortunately, you do. I think it's going to be more so of like a transitional thing for someone else. We'll talk about that in a second. I swear if they have Theory successfully cash in, I quit. Well, I'm there, but I think there's a way they could make it work. I'll get to that, of course, when we get to that. Before we start with the actual review, I will address, they showed a vignette, some type of like a creepy type vignette on Money in the Bank, and for Raw also. I know, immediate vibes, and I thought so too, thought Bray Wyatt. Because there have been rumors that Bray Wyatt may be coming back to WWE. Until I saw that he found a trademark for Wyatt 6. And what could that mean? I'll talk about that in my AEW Dynamite review. That I may probably not get to that for a couple days. But a lot of people are saying too, I think it's going to be Edge. Edge, because they have, like, the symbolisms of, like, the Hardy wristbands. They had the Dudley Boys glasses and a couple of other things. They obviously want to keep, like, that dark, gimmick on Edge, even though they pulled the plug on Judgment Day for him, because Vince wanted to go a different direction with Judgment Day, so I don't know what they're going to do with Edge now with it, but I think it's Edge. But we'll have to wait and see. If anything, I thought they would have revealed it on Raw who it was, because I'm surprised that they're not already pushing Edge for SummerSlam. You'd think they would have him on the card, but then again, they have all these other, names. Logan Paul, we'll talk about him in another video, advertised for SummerSlam. We'll be relying on a bunch of non-wrestlers again for SummerSlam. Yippee-yi-yay. Yay. But yeah, my hype for SummerSlam is not too high, as you can see. But let's talk about Money in the Bank. No pre-show matches. The show opened up with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And the 7 who were in the match were as follows: Becky Lynch, Lacey Evans, Raquel Rodriguez, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Shotzi Blackheart. Credit where credit is due for these women. They did try. But there were a couple of sloppy, botches in the match. Such as, there was a spot in the match where I think Becky Lynch and Asuka, or 2 people, were basically on each side of the ladder. And Raquel Gonzalez was... I saw you used to call her Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel Rodriguez was trying to lift the ladder over her head while both women were stuck inside the ladder. Which, if it pulled off good, would have been a great way to sell the strength of Raquel Rodriguez. But she just lifted it, and I think it was weird also because she had both feet inside the ladder as well. So she couldn't really lift it over her head. I think that they were trying to have her do it first, and she just dropped it. So that was a botch there. Then, of course, we have Becky Lynch doing the leg drop thing off the top of the ladder to send Asuka through the ladder, and Becky just bounced off of Asuka, and that was it. That definitely kind of put a damper on that maneuver there. There's a couple other spots. Shotzi Blackheart had the scariest spot of the match. She went to do her ball pit senton drop, or whatever the heck you want to call it, and she completely missed and smacked the back of her head off the ladder. I hope to God she's okay for that. That was not a nice looking spot there. But other than that, not much really. I mean, again, these women did try. They had a couple other good spots, but it was sloppy and definitely some botches. I like it a little bit better than last year's women's ladder match. Last year's women's ladder match was kind of bland. And of course, you all thought Becky was going to win, but instead they didn't go with Becky. I really also thought they would go with Lacey Evans. I thought, of course, Vince McMahon is madly in love with Lacey Evans. Instead, they went with the ultimate underdog of this match, Liv Morgan, who deserves it for sure. I mean, yes, as we all keep saying, she's popular, she's a lovable babyface. It would make much more sense to have her actually win some matches, but she's worked her ass off. She earned the opportunity to get the briefcase. She won the match, so it was definitely a surprise. Everyone was happy for her. The crowd popped. Of course, she said backstage in an interview that she was not sure she was going to cash in, WrestleMania maybe, but for now she's wanted to just party and relax. Yeah, I don't think you partied and relaxed for too long, Liv. You really didn't, because you really shocked us later on in the night. But yeah, and of course, the last person Liv had pushed off the ladder to get to the briefcase was Becky Lynch, who, of course, she did have a rivalry with earlier in the year with, they wrestled, I think, day 1, and I think on Raw once or twice. But, of course, as I said, that feud didn't really do too much for Liv, unfortunately. But it was a nice kind of, storytelling moment, see Liv kind of get that revenge. It was a good way to make her look strong in winning this match, I thought. So that was done well. But I said the rest of the match had a couple of sloppy spots as well. Oh yeah, then there was also a spot where they had Raquel Gonzalez like trapped in the corner of the ladder. And then I think like each person was like stacked on top of the other. And again, Becky did like one of those like I think leg drops, but it's like she just bounced off of the ladder and like didn't really look like it did much damage really to the other women who were like tied up onto the ladder. It was strange, but the other thing too was I keep forgetting there were 5 baby faces in this match. 5 baby faces. A couple of these women definitely should be heels. Like I'd say Lacey should be the heel again. Raquel maybe as well. I don't know. Alexa, I'm just still so confused with Alexa Bliss. I don't get what this babyface character is. This is just her being her. I mean, I think if Lily still wasn't in the picture, it wouldn't be so confusing. But I'm just confused. And of course, they also did some weird. I thought at first it was actually going to be an actual segment. It was a commercial for WWE's credit card or something like that. It was weird as hell, but you know. But yeah, Liv Morgan wins the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. How long did she hold the briefcase for? Well, that's a spoiler alert, but we'll find out in a little bit with that. For that match, so we have that. Then the next match was the United States Championship match with Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory. The build for this definitely was super strange with, the pose down and, just showing off the physique. Kind of some awkward stuff. Made me somewhat think of the build for Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn 4 years ago. I can't believe it's been 4 years already since Bobby Lashley came back to WWE. But this one was a little bit more manageable. But I thought the match actually was pretty good. What helped mostly, though, was the fact that that Bobby Lashley was very over with the Las Vegas crowd. Like he's definitely, even though I still think he needs a mouthpiece. I still don't like the fact that they took MVP away from him. You could have had them as a babyface duo for something fresh. Bobby Lashley, though, I think is still salvaging his momentum. And he's definitely, really hitting his stride as a top babyface. And quite frankly, Bobby won the match. It was actually a good match. I thought, Theory didn't come across quite as much of a chicken shit heel as I worried they were going to do, and may do in the future. We'll get to him again a little bit later. But, I thought he held on pretty good against Lashley. I thought he looked good. Again, Theory is growing on me. Well, again, I'm still going to say Austin Theory. He is growing on me. He still needs some work, though. Which, of course, will lead into what happened at the end of the show, later on. But to my surprise, Bobby Lashley won the U.S. title. And I thought they were going to have it lead to Austin Theory taking on John Cena at SummerSlam, as rumored. But I guess that's not happening, because we're going to have Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory have a rematch at SummerSlam for the U.S. title. And I was just like, Because after seeing this reaction here, I was definitely like, how in the world is Bobby Lashley not challenging Roman Reigns for the world title, for the either both or one of the world titles at SummerSlam? With how over he is right now. You want to say, so people are saying people like AJ Styles aren't drawing in tickets. AJ Styles, to me, is just sealed a spot where he has nothing to prove, and he can get a world title shot, with just a couple wins under his belt, which they haven't given him that. Okay, but Bobby Lashley is hot as a babyface right now. I mean, yes, the promo skills aren't there, but he's holding his ground and still putting on some very strong matches. Like, why is he not challenging Roman Reigns? And quite frankly, when he feuded with Roman for Extreme Rules in 2018, that match that I should say just should not have mattered whatsoever, because even though Lashley won, it got erased because Roman beat him 2 weeks later and he earned a title shot, and Lashley just got bumped back down to nowhere land, saying Rockin' Robin with Elias. So, that's my thing. Like, I'm a little bit, like, even though the match was good, I feel like, they should have just kept the belt on Theory. Why? I'll explain again also why later on when I get to the ending, but they should have had Bobby Lashley go after Roman Reigns. Like, instead of doing Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar for the 15 millionth time at SummerSlam, I have zero interest in that match whatsoever. Zero interest. I do not care whatsoever that there's a stipulation to it. I don't care. It's too late for that. And I'm sorry. Again, I've liked Brock Lesnar's new character, this babyface character. I've liked it. They did something different with it. But he does not need to be involved in a title feud. Bobby Lashley is believable to beat Roman Reigns. The match is still fresh. We haven't had them have a match since 2018. And that's when they were both baby faces. Now that Lashley's a face, Reigns is a heel, it's a fresh match and a good candidate for Roman to at least drop the WWE title to. So, yeah, he's U.S. champion, but it's like now Austin Theory's not going to be facing John Cena at SummerSlam. He's getting a rematch, which I just thought was weird. And then it's just... We'll talk about Austin Theory more later. My thoughts on his on what happened later on in the show. But Bobby won. Again, great match, but it's just... I feel like even though the match was great, it may not have been a good idea to just reduce Lashley down to the mid-cards and not have him be in the main event fighting Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, which should happen. But that match was fine. Next match, Bianca Belair and Carmella. This was what it was. I mean, we all knew Carmella was not going to win the world title here. This is just a replacement since Rhea Ripley is injured right now. I'm hoping to God they're going to do Rhea and Bianca at SummerSlam, and Rhea wins the title there, as she should. Judgment Day really needs something. I mean, yes, I like that they have Finn and Damian Priest as heels in a tag team, but something's missing with it. Something is missing, and I do feel like there was a direction with Rhea winning the championship, which I think will happen once Rhea gets back. Heck, I still think also, if she wouldn't have had a one-on-one match, Rhea also could have been a good candidate to win Money in the Bank. Not saying that Liv was not. That was still a nice surprise, but no. And the other thing also, too, is I'm thinking if Rhea would have won the title here, I don't know if they would have had Liv cash it on her immediately because of their history, but we'll get to that, of course, again a little bit. But she might be used for something else. But this match was very standard. We've seen it how many times. After the match, Carmella attacked Bianca again. I guess they're just lining it up for a backup plan for SummerSlam, which is get absolutely stupid. I guess they're not merging the women's titles. My guess what's going to happen is, because there's rumors again that one person's taking the title from Roman. The rumor, I'll say in a second here, of course, we get to the main event. And Drew McIntyre is still rumored to be beating Roman for the Universal title at Clash at the Castle in September, which, fine. But I think what's going to happen is like with the Usos, they might do the thing where whichever brand, because again, the brand split still is not ending because Fox and USA still want to have exclusive, people on their shows. So Usos are probably just going to keep whichever titles they are on whichever show they get drafted to in the next draft. That's just my honest guess. I don't know if it's going to be true or not, but that's just a guess. So yeah, because I know I was thinking maybe for SummerSlam, since they already merged the world titles and the tag titles, maybe they would do like Bianca and Ronda for a title match at SummerSlam, but not happening now. But of course, that was based off of what happened later in the show. It was a nice tease to see Carmella beat down Bianca's. You never know who could have came out. He came out later though and made a bigger impact, but talk about that in a second. So that's match number 3. Match number 4. Personally, my match of the night: the Usos versus the Street Profits for the undisputed tag titles, both Raw and SmackDown tag titles. Now, this was a great match. I think, especially the second half. The problem was like the crowd. The first half of the match, the crowd was not into it. The crowd was dead. And to me, it kind of felt like this was like a tale of two matches. Like, once the crowd came alive, I don't know, the flow to me personally, it felt like this match, like, started over like, it was at the first gear, getting into second gear, but then it went back to first gear and then shot to, like, second and third gear, like, really quickly. Like, the tempo picked up big time in that second half. The near falls were crazy. Montez Ford, I still cannot get over, you know, his like his dive over the top, over the top turnbuckle. I just love when he does that. Even like Angelo Dawkins with his big pounce he does, like it's similar to like Keith Lee's, but of course Dawkins can't do it as good as Lee. But I think that was interesting there as well. A good spot there. I think there was like they like, you know, like did like a suplex, a pounce into a suplex or something like that. The height that Montez got on, like, from the heavens and whatnot. Again, these two teams have fantastic chemistry. Like, clean up that first half of the match where, again, it was in first gear, it got to second, but back to first gear, and then it skyrocketed. If the pace was a little bit there, this could have potentially been a classic match, because this was really good stuff. The Usos do come away with the victory. However, though, in the replay it showed that I think Ford's shoulder was up and the referee missed it. So that could be set up for a SummerSlam rematch. Works for me. There must be a stipulation, though. I know some people say ladder match, which I think a ladder match would be great. I also think they should consider 2 out of 3 falls if they don't want to do a ladder match, because we just had ladder matches. But yeah, give these two teams some sort of a stipulation. Now, I heard some rumor. I thought one of the announcers said that they're trying to do a story where Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins are starting to not get along. And with the draft coming up, I wonder if they're going to split them up, which I don't think so yet. Again, Montez Ford definitely, for sure, has singles potential. He is just amazing in the ring. He's great on the microphone. Like, again, like I always say, if he was a single star in NXT, I would have loved to see a North American title match in NXT with him and Ricochet. That would have been a hell of a mid-card title match right there. Could have been a classic, definitely. But I don't think it's time to split the Street Profits up yet. I personally would like to see them. And, you know, if the Usos, you know, if Roman's going to drop the titles, gives the elite, or at least like one of the tag titles to the Street Profits. I feel like the Street Profits should at least have one more tag title reign before they split up. If they really want to make Montez Ford a single star, which he can definitely be a fantastic single star for sure. But wait and see. Like I said, and of course, also keep forgetting that they almost turned heel. Around WrestleMania, I was this close to doing a turn alert for the Street Profits, but they never just went full on heel. They really didn't. And they really need a babyface team like them right now. So to me, it's not the time to be splitting up tag teams. Especially not the Street Profits quite yet. Someday, though, there will hopefully be a strong singles run, though, from Montez Ford. But definitely my match tonight, but I know they can do better. They were a little bit more consistent. But still a phenomenal match. Alright. Match number 5. Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. Another match that was so predictable. Not once during this match did I believe Natalya was going to win. Even after Ronda seemingly injured her right knee, which I get at times thought it was legit. Ronda did sell it pretty good. But she was able to fight, turn around, and be able to get Natalya to tap out. But then the surprise came after the match. With one bad knee, out came Liv Morgan, who just an hour and a half earlier had won the women's Money in the Bank contract. And I'm like, first off, Liv's on Raw, but second off, are they really going to have her cash in on Ronda? Like, she can't win a match, you know, like how is she able to beat someone like Ronda? And the match happened. Ronda did have Liv in an ankle lock, but she was able to turn it around and get Ronda with a roll-up, and she won the title. Afterwards, though, to my surprise somewhat, because Ronda never likes to lose, she handed Liv the title and hugged her out of respect. Which surprised me. A good class act. I feel, though, that this... I mean, it was definitely a huge surprise. Never in a million years would I have thought Liv Morgan would successfully cash in on Ronda Rousey. But it was a great moment. But I will say it's not going to last. It's really not going to last. At SummerSlam, what I think this should be is a transitional way to turn Ronda Rousey heel. Because I'm sorry. I mean, Ronda's best match for sure since coming back was her I Quit match with Charlotte at WrestleMania Backlash. The WrestleMania match was solid. The finish, though, kind of threw it off there. But their I Quit match was spectacular. That should have been the main event at WrestleMania Backlash. But there's no doubt about it that this run that Ronda's had this year since returning has definitely not been as strong as her first run at all. She phoned it in for a while. Her promo skills are off. Like, again, I don't know if her heart's just not in or if she's just a lot more focused on being a mother now. And if that's the case, that's totally fine. But I think if Ronda's going to get that fire back, I think they need to make her a heel again. Especially with how, how good of a heel she was with the build for WrestleMania 35 in the main event. I personally feel like Ronda should be a heel. And of course, I think I read somewhere that she originally was supposed to come back as a heel. Because she came back as a heel at Rumble and on Raw, but in SmackDown, made her a babyface again all over again. But I still think they need to make this need to be a way. Ronda will win the title back at SummerSlam, and it'll lead her to a heel turn. And here's the thing, also reason why I'm also happy that Becky Lynch didn't win the Money in the Bank title, even though she beat Asuka in the No Holds Barred match. So it's looking like they may do a rematch. Well, they're probably going to... I wasn't sure if they were going to do Bianca and Carmella, because Carmella attacked Becky for no reason after their match. Carmella attacked Bianca for no reason after their match at Money in the Bank. But look at this. Becky beat Asuka. You don't think storyline-wise Becky's wanting to get another shot at Bianca one-on-one at SummerSlam. They may do that rematch. I still say, I still think they should have had Asuka win that No Holds Barred match. And again, keep going with the story, because I am intrigued with the story about Becky Lynch hitting rock bottom. Keep going with the story that will transition Becky back to being a babyface as she should be. And again, have this brief title reign with Liv be how they transition Ronda as a heel. And we get the one-on-one match at WrestleMania 39 that was the one-on-one match we should have had at WrestleMania 35. Because I'm sorry, I still think there's no reason to have Charlotte in that match at WrestleMania 35. Her getting involved is complicated. Like, the build for that feud was great the way it was until they had to stick Charlotte in there. For no godforsaken reason. So yeah. Liv getting the moment was awesome, but it's going to be brief. It's going to be much more worth it than it was last year when Nikki A.S.H. cashed in. That was a horrible run. Your champion who acts like an underdog, saying she was almost a superhero, couldn't even beat Charlotte Flair in a match. That was a terrible idea to do last year. That was terrible. So yeah, there's that. And then we have the main event. So originally, I did a video late last week predicting who I thought would win the Money in the Bank ladder match. And at the time, there was only 6 people. And I thought that the 7th person could maybe have been someone like John Cena, or I know someone said, what if Cody Rhodes just came out and just took the briefcase or was down and left? But of course, that was all wrong, and I was completely wrong on this match. Of course, the 7th member ended up being Madcap Moss. And then they added an 8th member, because he's Vince McMahon's protege. They added in now former United States champion Austin Theory. And as soon as Theory came out, you knew he was winning this. You knew he was winning this. There was a couple good teases though. Like there was a moment where I did think Sami Zayn was going to win it, which I thought would have been excellent. I definitely thought there was moments where either Seth Rollins or Matt Riddle was literally like a fingertip away from winning it. Drew McIntyre almost won it, but Butch randomly got involved. So I'm guessing they're going to have another Drew McIntyre and Sheamus feud for SummerSlam to give, Drew a big win before he goes on to challenge Roman at Clash of the Castle. Fine, I guess. I don't know. They may go with that since they had Butch interfere with Drew, but Drew was able to still fight them off. Majority of the match was them just getting Omos, out of the picture. They buried him under ladders. They had all 7 men, which I think actually it's 6. I don't remember Theory being involved in this, but they had 6 men, at least 6 or 7 men holding Omos up, like if they're carrying him on his back, and chucking him into the announce table. That was actually a cool spot there. The only other spot I remember that I enjoyed was Matt Riddle's RKO on Seth Rollins off the top of the ladder. That was a very, very neat spot there. Credit to Matt Riddle. He's definitely on some sort of a momentum rush right now. And I'm really excited to see. I'm really excited about his match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. That's gonna be a very good match. We want to see that match for a long, long time. But of course, as we expected when he got announced the 8th member, Austin Theory won. Now, there's some people who think that Austin Theory is going to cash in during the last man standing match at SummerSlam, win the title from Roman, carry them until WrestleMania, and you drop it to Cody Rhodes, or you go, since they've teased a few of him with John Cena, have John Cena beat him to be a 17-time world champion. I'm going to say it this way, I don't like either one of those ideas. What I think they should do, so here's the first reason why Austin shouldn't cash in yet. What big name has Austin Theory beat? Here's the problem I got with Austin Theory. Yes, he's a good talent. Yes, he's got a lot of potential. Yes, he's grown on me more. But the problem I have is, who has he had a big victory over? Like him, you win the U.S. title from Finn Balor, didn't do much because Finn Balor's done absolute shit. I think he had a victory over Kevin Owens. Like, that's probably the closest I came to, okay, I'll give him that. But he really has not had a win over somebody big. Like, him somehow getting a victory over Bobby Lashley, I think, would have benefited him on this show. Him having a little bit of a longer U.S. title reign would have also benefited him. Like, he is not ready. I don't care if he's Vince McMahon's chosen one or not. He is not ready yet to be a world champion. Like this idea that he's going to cash it on Roman, hold the title, this is to be a heel for Cody to dethrone at WrestleMania. No, absolutely not. Complete opposite. I know there's people who think that there's a chance that they could have like Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins Part 4 at next year's WrestleMania for the world title, with Cody returning to win the Rumble, which again, I would much rather have Cody win the Rumble than win Money in the Bank. I know people kept saying he was supposed to win Money in the Bank. I still, to this day, also do not think Cody Rhodes needed the Money in the Bank ladder, the contract for a story. Again, I would much rather see him win the Rumble and then the headline WrestleMania. What I think should happen is Theory should hold on to the briefcase. Maybe feud with someone, a bigger name or two, and get like a win or so over them. Even if that is John Cena, which they should have done him and Cena at SummerSlam. Like, I don't care that they're doing even though the match was good on this show, I don't care that they do Theory and Lashley again at SummerSlam. There's no need for me to see the match again, in my honest opinion. So, what I would do is have Theory hold on to the briefcase, maybe until WrestleMania or the Raw after Mania, like 1 to 2. Gets a few like bigger victories over like bigger names. Cash in when Cody wins the title. A better one, it will give him time to develop more, to get those bigger wins. And if you want to get good heat, have him ruin the moment Cody's always dreamed of. winning the title his father wants, and then Austin Theory takes it right away from him with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Don't just have it be like a chicken shit heel who literally I hate to say this, but him getting the world title now would be no better than Jinder Mahal getting the world title. I mean, yes, I have a lot more faith in Austin Theory than Jinder Mahal, but like I said, he's not gotten any big victories over anyone since coming to the main roster. So he's not ready yet to cash in. He's not. And him just win the title off of Roman in Last Man Standing is not going to, do wonders for anybody. Have him hold on to Mania. If they show how they want to put the belt on Seth Rollins so they can do Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins Part 4 at Mania next year for Cody to get his revenge and get the world title, fine. But like I said, you could use the time to build up Austin Theory, and you can have him cash in and ruin Cody's moment at WrestleMania next year. That's just what I think they should do. Because if they do him and Cena, I don't want him to lose to Cena. Like, that is a victory Theory could really use. Again, and him and Lashley. I think they could have gone away with having Theory win against Lashley. But, like I said, I really like it. I'm glad it's a new star, a new face. Like I said, though, even though he's grown on me, and, he's definitely, Vince McMahon's new golden boy and whatnot, I just still don't think he's ready to be world champion. So give it till Mania, build up a great story, have him cash in and ruin Cody's moment at WrestleMania. That's what I think they should do. And with that being said, I am tired. That's my review of Money in the Bank. Again, the best match still to me was definitely the tag title match with Usos and Street Profits. Everything else was just, they're decent. Liv's moment definitely was my favorite thing of the show, but I gave the show a C+. A C+ for Money in the Bank. In the live chat, we've got Brock Randall saying Liv Morgan win. The coolest part of Raw was when Ray pulled an Eddie. That's right, we did that against the Judgment Day. I was going to give this show a B, but after what they did with Theory, I dropped my grade to a C. Like I said, it really didn't set up much for the future. It didn't really set up much for SummerSlam. And like I said, Theory winning, not a horrible choice, but they shouldn't have him cash in right away. He still needs time, I think, in my opinion. And with that being said, guys, that's my review of Money in the Bank 2022. What are your guys' thoughts on Money in the Bank 2022? What grade would you give it? What was your match of the night? Did you enjoy Liv's moment? Do you think, it'll be short-lived? What do you think Austin Theory will cash in on as well? Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And make sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. Until then, guys, I am checking out. I'll catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.